All right. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and who is worthy to be counted for double honors. Peace and salutation to you brothers out there pushing this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely and for love of the gospel. It's the brother Gabaria from the Indiana camp. Coming back at you again with another sit down. And I'm basically gonna entitle this the Hebrew Israelites has the real truth. All right. And I'm entitling this because, you Christian church or you Christians out there, y'all have been preaching y'all rhetoric. Y'all been preaching y'all that so-called gospel, whatever you want to call it, upon the planet Earth for years now, for centuries. And it hasn't produced anything. It hasn't brought forth anything. Matter of fact, Christians are one of the most evil and wickedest, vile people upon the planet Earth. All right, because you do a lot of things in Christianity. You see, matter of fact, you talk to a so-called Christian, and 9 times out of 10, over half of them don't even do what they practice. You see, especially a fucking Israelite Christian, so-called Negro, Latino, Native American. Them niggas, they just it's fucking, it's fucking horrendous how a lot of these people so-called believe in Jesus Christ. And you got a lot of our people who don't even necessarily call themselves Christians, but yet they believe in Jesus Christ, Now, I'm not saying every Hebrew Israelite is right and every Hebrew Israelite is on point, but as a majority, at least over half of the so-called black Hebrew Israelites is what you like to call it. At least we're teaching somewhat what the truth, Now, I'm not saying that if you teaching somewhat the truth, you're better, but shit, at least you're better than a Christian. All right. Yeah, we might differ on certain things as far as like, the MOTB, who can be saved and other things. But what, 90, like Apostle Sahal said, 90% of the things we teach is aligned with one another. It's just those small differences that we might disagree on, But IUIC, ISUPK, we all necessarily teaches the same thing, you see. But you Christians, and this is another reason why a lot of people, because you Christian, the whole Christian rhetoric, it's always about, that's ever since I've been, in the truth, it's always, the Christian rhetoric has always been, you can do whatever you want and then just ask for forgiveness later, And then a lot of these so-called, especially in the Roman Catholic Church, a lot of like pedophilia, adultery, and wicked, abominable acts goes on. And guess what? This draws a lot of people away from the Bible. So when a person comes up and say, hey, I don't, I don't prescribe to the Bible because my pastor, who I've been knowing for 15, 20 years, slept with my wife multiple times. And if this man's supposed to be the man of God, I had to really, look back and see, well, if this is supposed to be the man of God, what am I in, So the whole Christian rhetoric, you have people, just to show you how false it is, you have people in there, that denomination or that fucking belief who don't even fucking uphold their own moral or what's morally right, It's actually a fucking a stereotype. It's actually a stereotype that pastor diddle little children, It's a stereotype where if you see a pastor, with the with the all black on, with the white collar and everything, that he might be a pedophile. You see? That's actually a fucking, people make jokes about that shit. That's how much it happens where people actually make jokes and it's talked about in society. When you think of a pastor, what do you think of? You think of him messing with little children. All right. That's how tainted and saturated the Christian church is in wickedness. You see? So y'all never really had the truth. All right. And another thing too is when you look up how many Christians are in the world, it's supposed to be, I think, 2.6 billion. I think it's supposed to be 2.6 billion Christians in the world. Now, if you look up that number and you type in the population of the world, I think it's like 8 billion people in the world and 2.6 billion people in the world. That number is 1.33, or no, that number is 34 or 35% of the world. So basically that's 1/3 of the world. So 1/3 of the world are Christians, just to show you that what the Christian church ain't got it. Because if you have 1/3 of the world are Christians, shouldn't we would have been delivered. That's the 1/3, ain't it? You see? So if the Christian church looks at the matter of fact, let me grab it. What is it? So I can bear with me for a minute. Oh, 13 and all right, okay. Zechariah 13 verse 8, it says, and it says, and it shall come to pass that in the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein, and I will bring the third and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. You see, so we use this scripture to what prove that what 2/3, which basically 2 parts of Israel as a whole will basically be destroyed, will perish. You see, but what the 1/3, the innumerable multitude, as it says in the book of Revelations, that 1/3 is the Lord's elect, and those are the ones who are going to basically be redeemed through the Lord, all right, and being basically first fruits and brought up, and that's who the Lord is going to basically raise up to be the nation of Israel. All right. And then through them, through the 1/3, they're going to bring forth the 2/3. All right. Through what? Children, childbearing, you know. So it's going to be a lot of it's going to be a lot of births in the kingdom through the 1/3, and which is going to issue in the 2/3. So even though the 2/3 are going to be destroyed and be killed, they're still going to come into the kingdom and receive it through being the children of the 1/3. You see? Now, if the 1/3 is the elect, the chosen innumerable multitude, if those being the elect, those ones who believed on the Lord, you know, and if the Christian church is the so-called the ones who believe on the Lord and are the so-called elect, the ones who's going to get raptured up, as they call it, which the word rapture is not even in the Bible. But if they're the ones who's going to get raptured, be saved, and be redeemed, shouldn't that happened already? You see, matter of fact, what's that in Revelations? Hold on. Revelation 7:3, it says, I'm going to read verse 2. It says, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seals of the living God, and he cried with the loud voice of the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. Verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. See, so right now, you know, stuff is not popping off the way it is because why? The servants are not sealed yet. You see? So if the 1/3 of the Christian church was really the 1/3, if the Christian church was those servants, and what, it's 2 billion people, so-called 2 billion people who believe on Christian church, shouldn't this be happening right now? Shouldn't things be popping off? Shouldn't the servants of the Lord be sealed? And it's been 2 billion people that's Christian church for a minute now. I remember when I first, around about like 10, 15 years ago, I remember I first looked up how many Christians was it on the planet, and it was about 2 billion, probably like 2.4 billion, 2.3 billion back then, but it was always been like up there in the 2 billions spot. You see, so what, the Christian church has always had massive numbers and a massive following. All right. But just to show you that the truth isn't with them, we wasn't delivered until what? The Hebrew Israelites, the so-called black Hebrew Israelites that people like to label us, until what? We got on the scene back in 2007 with the apostles, all the way now to what? 2026. So roughly almost 20 years ago. That's when stuff started to happen. That's when prophecy started to take forward. That's when things really started to ramp up. You see? And even really before then, it just really started getting now because what? Because while we're getting closer to the end, you know, and then that massive awakening back in 2007, when what a lot of brothers woke up around the world, around the country, you know, that's when things started to really speed up. That's why in 20 years, so much stuff has happened. You see, where right now we're on the brink of war. Where the MOTB is right around the corner. You know, famine is right there. You see how much fucking gas prices and food prices is. It's like shit. You go to the grocery store. If you go to the grocery store with anything less than what? Anything less than probably $75, $80, shit, you ain't really gonna be walking out with nothing. You know, you'll probably be walking out with a week's worth of food. About $100 can get you about maybe a week and a half worth of food if you know how to shop. You know, if you know how to shop, you probably be walking out with about a couple weeks of food with $100. See, I shop at Aldi's, so should be a little cheaper at Aldi's. And plus, I actually buy real food. You know, real meats, vegetables, seasonings, and shit. You know, so but the average American, they don't know how to fucking shop. The average American only shop for about a week. You see, and they always buy boxes and cans and fucking bullshit. All right, but getting back on the point, a lot of stuff is happening when we got on the scene. So what, you Christian church, y'all never had it, man. Y'all never had the oil. Y'all never had the sauce, whatever you want to call it. The Christian church rhetoric, the Christian church doctrine has been preached upon the world for years now. And nothing has happened until what? The so-called the so-called black Hebrew Israelites, that, like I always say, you like to label us until we got on the scene. So when we got on the scene, when we started prophesying, when we started being on the street corners, telling that this place is going to be destroyed, that's when things started to shake up. That's when things started to happen. You know, now we're where we're at right now. So yes, if you want to blame, the reason why the economy is like this and the reason why we are on the brink of war, blame that on us. Because we've been prophesying. All right. Matter of fact, really, to be honest, blame it on you can really take it up with the Lord. You see, because we had nothing to do with it. We were just a mouthpiece. We were really out there to let you know, hey, listen, this is what's gonna happen. All right. So really, it's just the Lord coming in and making things shake. All right. And as the days go on, it's gonna get nothing but worse. It ain't gonna get better. See, the Christian church will tell you things going to get better. You're going to be prosperous. See, nah. Here, you're going to hear the truth. You're going to hear what's really going to happen. This place is going to be destroyed. The MOTB is going to be mandatory. And if you take it, you're going to be destroyed right along with America. All right? So that's all I had. Lord, I hope this video was edifying for you brothers out there. Until next time, shalom.